Good morning, everyone. It's time for Saturday morning sketch, and I'm really excited to be with you today. I missed last week due to being on vacation, but I've got some fun pictures that I can share that I'm going to be scrapping today. I'm going to put this up on the screen so that I can watch it. Okay. Here we go. Here's the sketch that I have for today. This sketch I actually put into ChatGPT that I wanted a sketch with 3 photos, and I wanted a couple of clustered embellishments and some pattern paper mixed in. And so this is what ChatGPT gave me. After a few changes and things like that, I have the sketch that I want. And so that's just a little tip for you if you use ChatGPT, because it really is helpful in a lot of ways. I've got my layout studio under here. Of course, we're just using one side today, so I can have all my magnets and everything over there. I love that about it. And let's see, I picked out some paper from Lakeside Memories because I have a few kayaking pictures. And so I have some different patterns. I have no idea what I'll use, but really nice lake prints. I think this is my favorite sheet from Lakeside Memories. It's such a beautiful piece of paper. It almost looks like it is the water. There's so much texture and everything in it. So I've got all these patterns, but also some tonal patterns from the paper pack, because we want to go behind here. I specifically asked for tonal paper behind there because I want you to see how to mix patterns but not have it be overwhelming. And then I got to thinking about Wandering Wild, which was a secret box, and I remembered it had this textured paper in it, and so I decided I wanted to pull a little bit of that out and see if I could use it. And then there was a paper pack called Nothing Left Behind, and I got a couple of sheets from that. So we'll see what we use. I'm just going to put this up here, and we're going to go through this sketch to see how we break it down. And so we have a 12-inch sketch. So it's 12 all the way across. And now we have a piece that is behind this photo mat. I printed pictures that are 3 by 5, and I wanted a little room in between them. This is going to be about 10 inches, we're going to say. 10 inches wide, and then 5, so 5.5 tall. So then if we know that, if we were to move that over a little bit, this wouldn't quite fit all the way on it, this second layered piece. So I'm going to say that that's a 9-inch. And I'm going to make it square, I think. I might go 9 across and 10 inches down. And then this one behind here appears to line up with this one, but it really doesn't. But still in all, I'm going to go 10 inches on that one because we bring this one down a little bit, and 10 inches down. So across and down for 10 inches. Hi, Debbie. All right, so, and then we've got some embellishment clusters and some borders. And I picked out a punch to do this border that I think will be fun. And then I took out my oars punch because that's always good when you're kayaking. Plus I have these punches that were just on sale that were 4 for $80, 20% off. I love these punches. You can use these on everything. So, and I've got some inks out and things like that, so we're gonna get going. First, I'm gonna select my patterns that I want on top of each other and what I want for this background. So, I've got this wood, which I really love for a background of the pictures with something light with it. So this is a different color. This is more of a beige wood grain. And then we've got, no, I didn't think there was, you know, I've got some of this light, and then that might be really nice on there. That might bring out some of the pictures. It was kayaking at sunset, so I kind of want to choose from there. Oh, I like that blue on top, that wood green. So this I have in mind for my punch, one of my punches. So I'm going to go with this, I think. I'm going to cut it, and if it's not right, there's always more paper. Okay, so we said that that first background was 10 inches. I don't want you to get, when you do a sketch, don't spend so much time looking at paper that it paralyzes you. And that really can happen. You can have a decision paralysis from not being able to choose paper. Now I'm cutting 2 inches off of each side, which makes this a 10 by 10 square. Okay, and then I'm gonna grab this plaid. I really liked that there was light color in here too. So I'm gonna go 9 inches across, which means I need to take 3 inches off. As you've learned from me over the weeks, I very seldom open my trimmer. Not unless it's really close, but I really like having the flexibility to subtract my measurements so that I can, and I think that's really a lost art. I do. I think that it's, people don't think much about adding and subtracting. You see it even in the stores. So now this other piece here was 10 inches wide, and I'm going to be okay with that. I might have to cut it down. So this was what I was going to put the pictures on. So if it's going to be wide and I want the water to go this way, I'm going to turn this here. Oh, Rhonda, this is Lakeside Memories. I'm so glad you could join. This is a good thing for you to join right now. And we're going to go with 6 inches because I can always cut down, but I can't add paper. So I'm gonna do 6 inches. And this was 9. Did I say 10? 10. So I wanna go 10 1/8 then by 6 1/8. So 6 1/8 this way. Always pay attention to your patterns. And then because this is going to go just over this. See, so you have just that little bit of frame over it. Yeah, no, I don't want to hide that water paper. And then 10 1/8. So, 10 1/8 from 12 is 1 9/8. I need to cut off of this. One 7/8, I mean. Okay. And Rhonda, I've got a little bit of Wandering Wild in here and Leave Nothing Behind to see if those are things. Now see how that brown just pops that up a little bit? And I'm going to take 1/8 inch off of this. Now remember, your 1/8 inch is that second line. First you have your cutting line, and then you have the 1/8 inch line. It's so good to see so many of you pop in. I'm really glad you like Saturday Morning Sketch. I love it because it's when I can scrapbook my own things. So this ended up being 5 7/8. And that gives me just a little bit more brown. Perfect. Okay, let's get started putting this down. Now, isn't it so nice that we have magnets to hold this down? Because what would I normally be reaching for? I would normally be reaching for my place and peel tape to hold my paper down, but I don't have to with this. Now, I think I want to try these papers down here a little bit before I'm settled on the sizes. Before I can't do anything about it. And the nice thing about this, I don't want to tilt my layout studio when I've got it on camera like this. But what's really nice about this is that if I really wanted to take a good hard look at this, I could stand it up. And you see things from a whole different perspective when you stand things up. Before I am settled on these sizes, because I think I might want this one a little thinner and a little less. And I even think I want this one about 1/2 inch. I'm going to cut those down. Okay, so 1/2 inch off 2 sides. I'm not afraid to use my paper, you guys. I'm not afraid to cut it down and cut off strips. You just can't be. There's more paper. And there's going to be even more paper than what you have. I want you to look at how much paper you have. And think about that. What does it hurt to just cut more edging on it? And that turned out to be exactly what I want. I can tell already. Yep, it's got more of the white showing. And I can even put this right at the edge there if I wanted. And if you really want to conserve paper, you can always gut out a piece right here, okay, on this sheet. Okay, but before I do that, I want to take some ink, and I'm going to grab my Rich Cocoa ink. That's the one I didn't pull out. And I am going to just ink the edges of this to make it pop a little bit. against that white. I want the white background. I know you guys see a lot of white backgrounds from me, but I ink a lot. I ink so much, and you need to have that white background for it to really show and shine. And so, especially with what I want to do here. So I'm just rubbing at a 90-degree angle just to give this a nice rich cocoa edge. This is beige paper, so this cocoa matches perfectly. And you see how then that pops a little bit on the paper. I'm going to adhere this down because I want to stencil. And I'm going to be stenciling on part of it. So I want to go ahead. Now we made this 9.5, so about 1 1/4 inches from all the edges. And I'm just eyeballing it here. But if you are not an eyeballer and that makes you nervous, bring over, because I understand that makes people nervous. Okay, bring over your ruler. I'm measuring from above. Okay, I'll move these so I can measure the right way. 1 1/4 inches. Okay. And look at that, my eyeballs were just about right. A little bit off. About a 1/16 of an inch off, that's all I was. Okay, so now I've got this down on the paper. Now, one of the reasons I use so much adhesive, I know that people think that I use a lot of adhesive, is because I do not like those gaps sticking up on my page. And so I really like there to be a lot of edge. So I'm going to take out my barely arced precision glue with the tight tip. And I'm just going to squeeze a little bit under there. That's why I like this glue. It's so useful for so many things. Now I'm going to take my Splattered Elements stencil, and I want to stencil some of these rings right above and below where this is going to land. And I still feel like I need to cut this down another 1/2 inch because I think it's too long. So what we have is, I'm even not opposed to putting it straight on like that. Ooh, and then if I cut another 1/2 inch down, I'm like in a, or if I go like this, just a little bit. I'm going to leave it like that. Okay, so I want this splatter to be underneath in the corner of that. I'm going to take another. Are some of you freaking out just because I'm cutting strips? Yeah, there, I like that. So I deviated a little bit from this sketch and brought it to the center of this background, and I'm very happy with that. Now I'm going to tape off my stencil so that I don't get ink all over where I don't want it. And today I'm using mint tape from Scrapbook.com because I have a lot of it and I want to use it up. And I'm going to put that down. I try not to press too hard on the printed paper because sometimes the place and peel and the mint can pull off the pattern. And this is the tape that I'll use for all of my stenciling. I'll just pull it and put it elsewhere. Okay. Okay, I'm going to leave it just like that. And I'm going to put this, I like the wider. And set that down there. Now I want to pounce off my ink. I'm going to use Rich Cocoa, but you can't just go in there with Rich Cocoa and just start putting it on there, or you're going to have, you're not going to get a nice blend. So I'm inking up my brush and I'm pouncing it there. I don't want that on my page. I want to pounce it off so that I can go in with a nice blend. And I'm going to go in gently. I'm not going to push hard. I want a light touch on my stencil. Okay, because I can ink up and get more ink, but I can't take ink away once it's down. So just remember that. You've learned two things today about paper and about ink. You can always, paper you can always take off more. Ink you can always add more. Kind of a backwards. And I want that a little darker. So you're going to see a nice blend though, because I don't know if you notice, but I start swirling my brush before it even touches down. It's just a habit that I learned years ago, and so I just continue to do it. And now I have this nice splatter up there. And now I'm going to put one down here, but I'm not going to go exactly in the corner. I'm going to go off the corner just a little bit. Unbalanced makes a really balanced page, if that makes any sense. If you just bring it off to the side just a little bit. And every time I ink up my brush, I then pounce it off. Well, good morning, Rachel. How nice of you to visit us all the way from, are you in England or where are you in the UK? That's so nice. All right. I'm going to move this stencil. I like this. Yes, asymmetrical is good. Hi, Barbara. I gotta move my glue so I can see. Now, because I edged the bottom paper, I'm gonna go ahead and do this on this plaid paper too. I think sometimes in scrapbooking, asymmetrical clusters really create a balance of their own. Or sponging like that. Stenciling. Oh, we've got all kinds of states and places. I love that. Now, I'm still not all set on this being like this. I still might want to move it over this way. But, you know, I've got time. I haven't put it down yet. I want to work with the photos first and this photo mat I created. So I'm going to take my 3x5 photos and get the photo trimmer. I hope you guys have the... Oh, you're in England. How nice of you to sit down and watch. I just love this trimmer. Let's see, I'm going to cut this side. And then by 5. Really like those clouds back there, so I didn't want to cover them up. We went on vacation last week and it was so windy and it was rainy. And so whenever we were able to get in the kayaks, even though you'll see in the next picture the sun was setting, we got in them. This is a really pretty picture. It's harder to see my sister in it, but it's also really lovely with the sun setting behind her. All right, so let's get that out of the way. So quick and easy, and now I'll be able to tell how much I want to cut this down. Okay, so I'm gonna mark with a pencil. This is very big. I left it very big, didn't I? Where's my pencil? Here it is. Okay, I'm gonna cut that blue paper down. And then I'm gonna cut the brown 1/8 of an inch bigger. Maybe 1/4 of an inch, we'll see. And I simply put a couple pencil lines where I wanted it to be, where I wanted the cut to be. So now this turned out to be 5 1/4 by 9 and probably 3/8. I'll open this one up and measure for you. Yep, by 9 3/8. Let's go down to, let's see. Ooh, that's just about right there. That is just right. I just need a little bit more off of here. Probably 1/8. Which I can measure on the trimmer because it's got the 1/8 and 1/16 inch measurements. So if you purchase my workshops, you're going to see that 1/8 and 1/16 in there once in a while, just because I love to use them. So we cut this down to 5 1/8. So I want to cut this down to 5 3/8. And if you're thinking that this is a lot of math for you, and it's just too much to figure all that out, then put your pictures on there and just cut around it. I think I said this was 9 3/8. Yep, so let's make this 9 5/8. I love the 1/8 and 16th measurements. They give you that preciseness that I really love. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to take that cocoa now and put around the edges here. I brought in this blue, so I'm going to bring in some blue splatters for water next to those big rings. You might look at that stencil and think it's only for coffee rings, but that's not it at all. It makes really awesome elements in your corner, and embellishments will go over those. So I like that a lot. Now the brown wood won't show quite as much, but it's there and it will really make it pop out on top of that plaid. I was really happy that I could find somewhat tonal papers. The wood grains definitely are. And I could have delved into my other paper packs like I did by taking some of the other papers out. Let me look at that sketch for a minute. This goes under, so I need to cut that next. I'm just going to put this on here along with the photos, and then I've got them matted. I love writing down all the stories. It's really a good thing. And that's why all of you are here. You love writing the stories. So make sure you're journaling. Speaking of writing the stories, not all stories are told just with photos. In fact, some stories don't have any photos. And it's okay if you just write the story on your page. You can, if you really need a photo, you can go to Google and grab a photo and put with the whole story. Because sometimes we can't take pictures of where we're at, or for some reason or another, we're so enthralled by what we're doing that we don't take photos. And that's the best kind of memory. When you just are so engrossed in the moment that you don't worry about the photos. I remember one time being taught by Stacy Julian, and I've talked about her before in my videos, and she mentioned that we're too tied with our photos sometimes when it comes to scrapbooking. And she mentioned that next time you go to how many times have you gone to the pumpkin patch? You know, and next time you go, don't bring your camera. Kind of panicked me a little bit, because what if you need to take a picture of something that you might never get again? But then she went on to explain that sometimes the story is more important and we're more present if we're not constantly trying to take a photo. Now, I'm in the photo taking business of writing your memories down. And so I really like a photo, but I think sometimes there can just be too many photos going on. All right. Now I've got this here. Oh, I like it. It's a little bit longer than, I probably could have gone down to a smaller photo on that side, but that's okay. I want those 3x5s. That's just a part of making sure that you have oh, Rhonda, you know how much I love ink. Okay, I'm going to put that right in the center. Well, I don't know why I grabbed that tape. I really like the repositionable. Okay, now that I have this on there, and I'm set with that now. I've made up my mind that that's where it's going. Yeah, that sunlight, that's why I actually took out my camera, because I looked over at my sister and I saw that sun setting behind her, and I thought, that's really beautiful. That might be a picture you might not get again. But with all that being said, though, what I said, you have to remember that you may never have an opportunity or a moment. How fast does the sun set? You may never have a moment to capture that memory again if you don't do it right away. And so, then you want to say, take the photo. I think that everybody has a different thought process when it comes to photos. I think that sometimes we can just be too phone happy in this world where we're constantly taking a phone or a video or whatever. And make sure we're doing it for the right reasons, I guess, is what I will end up saying. I'm going to take this off of here. And I just keep, when I'm working with the stencil and I know I'm going to use other parts of it, I just keep a microfiber cloth handy at my desk. I'm not going to go all the way to the sink and wash this. In fact, I never go to the sink and wash it. You don't have to. You can just take your towel, and I put it on the white so that you could see. Take your towel and just wipe it. I've got the stencil sitting on the back, and if it's like this rich cocoa ink can be really dark on there, take a little bit of water. But I don't want the stencil all wet if I'm going to be using it for something else. So there we go. I think there's a little bit of red undertone in the rich cocoa ink. It looks like it when I stencil it and use it. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want this splatter. So I'm going to tape that off. I'll bring it over here so you can see better. Oh, and I have a little bit of water on that. So I need to wipe that off. Don't make stenciling so hard though that you never do it. If you are constantly running to clean your stencils somewhere or just making it all together too hard, you're not going to stencil as much. You're not going to pull out your ink as much as you might. Make it easy on yourself. Just do what I did. Just wipe the ink off and move on. All right, I want some of these up here off these rings, and I'm going to stencil that in blue. And I'm going to use Summer Sky. There's a little bit of light blue in this plaid paper. Now, for Summer Sky, it's so light, you don't need to pounce that off. So if you've got a light ink like Angel Pink, Summer Sky, Lulu Lavender, just go ahead and stencil right on there because it's light ink and it takes a lot of ink for coverage. And I like that about the ink, those inks, that they're so light because they add subtle characteristics and texture to your page. Okay, so let's see what this looks like. Oh, we've got that nice water splatter there. Now I'm going to put one over here. And that's going over the plaid a little bit because I chose not to put that ring right in the corner. And I'm probably going to leave the, oh, don't worry, it's just ink, comes right out. Okay, because if I use any more stencils on this sheet, it's going to be this splatter in other places. So I want to leave the tape on there and not worry about that again. There, now we have a nice rustic looking splatter. I'm going to move that out of the way. Put the lid back on the Summer Sky. I store my ink pads upside down. Even in the new ink holder, you can store them upside down. It's not going to hurt them. It's only going to make your ink go right to the top. All right, I'm going to center this again and put my magnets back on. Love my magnetic studio. I wanted to make this border. I'm thinking now that it might be too much, but I'm going to make it anyway. And I'm going to use, I took some specific paper out for this. I'm going to use this for the base. This is that wood grain that I used in the background. Oh. What on earth? I might not be able to use it. There we go. All right. I was just a little stuck there. Could have to do with a very weak hand. Line this up. And this is campers and trees. And there are trees and campers in the backgrounds of these photos. And so that's why I chose this one. Okay, now we'll trim that off. I try to leave about 1/8 of an inch. So I line up the bottom with that 1/8 inch mark. You can leave more if you want. You can go all the way to the 1/4. I prefer the 1/8 inch. And so I've got that cut. Now I'm going to take this piece from Nothing Left Behind. That's what it was. And I'm going to punch a border in this because in my border I want green trees. Okay, I just looked at the clock. How does time go so fast? I really do try to keep this to an hour, but I think when you ink and all that kind of stuff, and I just enjoy the process, so I'm never in too much of a hurry. Okay, now I've got green for the trees. Let's put something neutral in the back here so that you can see. I'm going to cut these trees out. And I'm just cutting right along the edge so that I get the tree trunks and everything. This had the green in it. This paper had the same green in it that this mustn't have been quite 12 inches. It wasn't. Well, then we'll just, this was. So I'm going to take this tree and that'll have to be the end. I'm going to see what that looks like, but I might just end up cutting it straight. So it looks like the tree is behind the camper. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that on the edges. Rather than fussy cut those branches, I'm going to make it appear as if the tree were behind the camper, which is what it generally is anyway. Now you can keep those little campers if you want. Yeah, that's nice. Tell me, do you guys camp in the summer? Do you kayak? Do you go out on the water? Are those things not for you at all? I don't remember a border punch that I didn't do something like this to. I really like adding that texture of the right colors in there. Okay. Let's go ahead and build this. I'm going to take this out of here now. I may have chosen the wrong background. For the camper, simply because it kind of blends into that wood. And see what other paper I have for those campers. Because that's just not going to do. Oh, that one's good. That's the back of the plaid. Okay. That one won't fall in. And it'll take a brown ink very well too. It's okay to change your mind when you're scrapbooking. It's just okay. It might not be the right thing the first time, but when you're finishing a page, you don't want to get to a point in your scrapbooking where you turn the page and say, oh, I wish I'd have done this instead. Just do it. Just cut more paper. Just do what you need to do. Make sure that when you finish a page, you're happy with it. Yeah, that's much better. We can see that. And in the end, I'm going to take this rich cocoa ink and I'm going to edge the campers. But just the campers. The trees will be covering. So, might have to bend things a little bit here and there to get in that camp. But it really makes a difference. You know, I really like this sketch that ChatGPT came up with because it's a versatile sketch. So hang on to it. Look at how that pops those campers up. Okay, now let's put all of these trees on there. And for that, I'm going to use my Barely Art. And I'm going to put the adhesive on the tree of the border. It's a lot easier to do it that way than to try to hold something that's got glue on the back of it. and put it down. You end up with a lot of glue on your hands that way. So this is a much easier way to do it. And Barely Art gives you the opportunity to, once you've set something down, if you do it right away, you can kind of move things around a little bit. Once it's down, it's down. So you're not going to be able to move it, but so what did we do while it was raining? We played games and we had fun. We laughed a lot. Has anyone heard of the game Frustration Rummy? Oh, it's frustrating, all right. But it's fun and lots of laughing. So we did that one day. And I mean day. Took a long time to play those rounds because there were so many of us. Okay. Okay. Now let's see if I'm going to keep it underneath because not much is showing when it's underneath. Or if I'm going to put it down below. Ah, Shirley. Yeah, I have always worked right on top of my paper. And it's just part of what I do. Now we have options here. We can cut it the length of the photo mat, which I really love. Because I like that better than going all the way across. Okay, I'm gonna cut this off right here. Oh, I do like that, but I am gonna cut this little piece off. Yeah, Debbie, this is a good sketch. Okay, now I'm gonna let that sit and think about it for a minute. So, I can't imagine that these magnets wouldn't hold a jeeping page. I don't know, do any of you have jeeping pages and have tried it? I have never used them. So, I don't know. But I've got a magnet holding a photo and 2 pieces of pattern and 2 pieces of pattern below. So I would think it's got to. I'm gonna try to shape up these end trees just a little bit. Well, that doesn't look good at all. I'm gonna take that tree off. don't use punches very often, so when I do use them, I take a little more time to put them down and make sure that I have what I want to have on there. Now that I have these sitting there, they're just sitting there waiting for me, I'm going to pull out some embellishments. First of all, I really like the idea of putting this jute twine across the bottom of those campers. So oh, it just adds to the nice look. Trying to think of the best way to adhere this, because I'm going to try Barely Art because it's jute, so it's a little thicker than your traditional cotton twine. But I think the threads are going to stick pretty good on there. Yeah, as far as the sketch goes, keep it and put it in your creative motivation binder, because that is, and if you don't have one of those yet, I just saw them on the website for $11.38, I think. I think they were on sale. Grab one, because that is a really great place to keep all of your patterns in one place. Mine sit, I have 2 of them, and they sit right under my desk. Okay. Now I've got some embellishments. I'm going to use more twine. But first I'm going to look at what embellishments I've got. I love this stone heart in Lakeside Memories. I'm a big fan of stacked rocks anyway. This one almost calls to be right. On the edge of something. I'm just grabbing, and then I'll decide if that's where I want things to be. I also have these trees, but I don't think they're going to work really well on this page. They're a little too big. And I've got rocks that are all gray, which would fare very well with this. Do you see how we're just kind of using that splatter and that ring as a background? It's my favorite part. Okay, so you might notice that I'm looking at putting this camper border up over the pictures. I want to tell you that that's okay because I've got a lot of water there. So I'm not covering anybody's face or anything they're doing, but rather I'm just putting something right over the bottom of the water to kind of extend the photo itself. I'm going to go ahead and put this down. But you know, I need to put this down. I need to make a choice. I need to pick a lane. Okay, so I'm putting this about 3 1/4 inches from the bottom, leaving a little bit of wood green here. This piece in Lakeside Memories with the stones on it is really nice in little bits, you know, borders and things like that. It's very nice in little bits. It can be way too busy for a background, but it's very nice that way. Now I'm going to go ahead and put some adhesive on this so that I can adhere this down. I need to look at the camera. I got to make sure that that's straight. Yep, we're good. Okay. Remember what I said about liquid glue like this. If you use it, you're not going to be able to move it. So it gives you a little time to fuss with it, but then you're good. And it's acid free. You don't have to worry about it harming photos or anything like that. But I want it on the bottom of my photos. So I went ahead and put glue on it and put it down. And I like it. I like it a lot. So I'm glad that's on there. I'm glad I made that decision. Okay. Now these cattails are going to end up going above that a little bit. I think I'm going to put the colored ones there. And then on Lake Time. Okay. I'm going to put 3D foam on this. And then I'm not sure if I'm going to put those rocks on top of it or kind of tuck them underneath. I like them on top. So because I lifted this up, now I want this lifted up, but I only need to put a little bit of 3D foam right in here because it's already on 3D foam. So I'm going to just put a little bit, and then I'm going to put adhesive. so that it sticks to those cattails. Just like that. Oh, it helps if you take the backing off so that it sticks. Yeah, I went a little over, didn't I, Debbie? You have a great day. Before I put that down, I want to check this out up here. I think I have a small cattail. I also have these paddles. They're pretty big. I might forego this, and I have another one of these. Look at. Oh, never give up on a cluster. You just don't know what you're gonna find as you start playing with things. No, I don't think I'll put that up on foam tape. This is gonna be the base of my cluster, this and the inking. That's gonna go up on 3D foam. This will be up on YouTube tonight, along with the finished photo. I'll post the finished photo here. Look at that. Those oars may be big just to use on their own in that page, but to use as the bottom of a cluster, really nice. Or if I was doing a 2-page layout. Okay. I love this magnet thing, and when I'm doing a 1-page, I can just stick it over there. It's awesome. I almost should have put some twine around here, but I'm gonna do a bow. Could also do a loop. Okay, I don't mind that. I just am going to use some glue dots to build it. And kind of loop it together with this side. see if I have some bigger glue dots. I think I don't. I think I'm out. So I need to use a few of these. Different adhesives for different projects and different things you do in your project, right? Gonna lift that up a little bit and tuck that under there. Good. Now I'll make a small loop, just a few fingers. Your loop goes according to whatever size you make in your fingers. Sometimes I use 3, sometimes 4. Yeah, you know, Julie, that's about the only way I make decisions is on the fly. Because you can have all the best laid plans in the world. And if you want to stick to those plans all the time and never bend, you are losing some of what creativity can bring you. You know, you'll lose that. If you say, this is what I'm doing and that's it, and then you think of something else along the way, that was your creative insight telling you, no, do this instead. And so you have to be able to. I love that. That makes me very happy. I'm going to put my title up there because then I'm going to leave this for journaling. All right, now I've got some blue. These are the blue dots from the floral embellishments, the blue ones. And I'm just gonna grab some more. Do you see how that inking was so important, but it's so subtle? It's so very subtle in your page, but it adds just the right enhancement. And there we go. I'm really happy with this page. I really love what I've done with it. I liked the embellishments I've used, the extra time that I took. All of that really brings you to the place of a finished page where you love it, where you absolutely love it. Because I want you to love your pages. I don't want you just to put a page together and say, oh, you know, that's good enough, I'll just stick it in there. No, don't do that to yourself. Take your time with your pages. Pick out the paper. It took me about a half an hour before I started with you to go through my paper and pick out some paper, put embellishments in the embellishment tray. I didn't have to reach for anything today. Everything that I wanted was there. And I just took time when I was with you to show you why I made the decisions I did, what I did to enhance those memories and make sure that those pictures stayed front and center. Doing a little bit extra to a border, maybe throwing in some twine like that. It all brings you to the end result. And take the time to do that for yourself. If you're gonna spend all that money on scrapbooking, take the time to do what you love. And in the end, if I didn't like this, I'd pull it right out and start all over again. But I love this page, love this center photo. It all brings it all together. Your eye goes across the page. And it hasn't hurt at all that I've put a border over the bottom of the photos. So there you go, my friends. That's Saturday Morning Sketch on June 20th. And I hope you picked up a few things, learned a few things. If nothing else, you've learned that you can change and that you can grow and do what you want to do. Alrighty, I will talk to you next week.